I'm Christy Cobb. I'm assistant professor in religious studies at the University of Denver. I've been associated with JFSR since graduate school, where I served as the submissions editor at Drew University, and I did that for about 3 years. And then after graduation, there was a little gap, and then I came back and to be a member of the editorial board, which is what I'm doing now.
I'm Sailaja Krishnamurti, and I'm the head of a Department of Gender Studies at Queen's University in Ontario. I have been involved with the journal for I think this is my 3rd year, and I don't know, COVID made everything very blurry, and just in the capacity as a member of the editorial board and serving on some committees. At JFSR, I think we collectively have the sense of really wanting to support scholarship in our field and really wanting to support junior scholars and precarious folks and international scholars. And so we're trying to take the approach of how do we make this positive and constructive, and also to think about this as a feminist practice, right? And so here I want to say, I know I have not been good at this. And sometimes because of my own anxieties and stresses, I get really behind on responding to reviews. But I think I'm really trying at this point to work on being more timely with reviewing and being approaching reviewing as a practice of mentorship, because I think that's a way that we can challenge some of the sort of really conventional, hierarchical, patriarchal structures of the academy together. So we're not always seeing each other as oppositional, right, when we're in this position. Part of my decision making is based on how stressed and freaked out I am about all of the things I have to do, because we all have workloads at any given time. And then I think about whether or not I have expertise that would meaningfully contribute to the piece. And sometimes I receive a request where I'm really excited to read this work because it's something really new, sounds like it could be a great contribution to the field, and I want to know more about it.
I just want to say I love that the feminist approach, I think, and feminist practice is so important, because we need our voices out there as feminist scholars, and we need to be, responding to these papers when we have time. We want junior scholars. We want marginalized scholars. We want diverse scholars. We're trying to pull all of those into the journal, and that's so important.
Yeah, I think JFSR has been such a great place for thinking through some of these questions, because it feels to me like everybody is interested in trying to make academia better.
I think one of the things that I do is read it all the way through first, just to sort of get the whole picture. And then I might set it aside for a little bit and come back to it, just with, maybe it's the way that I work, but I need to sort of read and then process and think through it a little bit. I'm looking for, usually, sort of, does the article match the guidelines? That's the sort of number one thing to look for first. And then I'm looking for a really clear argument, phrased clearly somewhere near the very beginning of the article, to say what this article is going to argue, and maybe methodology, foundation, who they're in conversation with scholarly, in the scholarly world. So those are really sort of main things that I'm looking for, because sometimes you can read an article and those things aren't there, or maybe you can see something that's sort of missing in terms of methodology or scholars that should be in conversation with and might not be, things like that. So I often will, using Microsoft Word, or would whatever sort of PDF program that is being used. I often will make anonymous comments in the article itself. I find that an easier way to respond if the journal will allow a submission of a document in that way. So I'll read through it, turn my settings to anonymous or like reviewer, and then make comments throughout. And then I open a new document and sort of will make a paragraph statement to the editors, to the author. I personally always try to lead with positives. I do this with my students as well. Like find the good in the article and try something that I can celebrate, and then offer some, I hope, helpful, suggestions for improvement. And then the decision that I'm going to suggest, whether that's accept with revisions or revise and resubmit or reject.
Leading with positive feedback where possible is really important. And yeah, it's great when you can mark up a document. If I'm gonna offer critical feedback, I try to give specifics about things that the authors could do. Read, things they may want to consider reading, or specific places in the text, if you're not marking up a document where they might want to add or change something. For our journal, and I think in lots of other contexts for journals, we often encounter scholarship from people who maybe, for example, writing in English as an additional language, and the arguments might be there, but there might need to be some changes in the language that's being used in order to improve clarity, right? And so I think we can serve a role in providing constructive feedback there if we've got time and capacity to do it.
And I've served as that person too more recently, and that was such a sort of meaningful way to contribute to the journal. And this particular author that I was working with didn't have library access, and I was able to download articles and just email them to this person and be like, hey, here's some more recent stuff that they didn't have access to. So there's a lot of ways that we can help even in those situations, and taking that time is important.
It's called peer review. It's not called jerky senior scholar review, right? And so how do we, if we approach reviewing as thinking like we're looking at work by our peers and thinking about how we mentor or co-mentor each other, right? Like I'm learning from scholars writing that I haven't encountered before, and I also maybe can contribute in supporting the development of their work, right? And so I just remembering the peer part, I think, is really important. If you get a request to review from JFSR and you've got a little bit of time, please consider accepting. It will take as much time as you think you can give it. And when we were talking about time earlier, I said it could take an hour, it could take 4 hours, but it's not going to take you 2 weeks. And so, if you can find a couple of hours sometime in the next few weeks of your, all our schedules are busy. If you can find a time in your busy schedule to do that, there's going to be an author who is your peer who's going to be really grateful for your feedback.